oh my god, what a first game that we have just been witnessing from G2, pulling the trigger again on Mental Rush after they had kind of good early game. So what happened there, Rob? What was happening in this wonderful game?
It sounds like one of our analysts predicted this game correctly. No, it was an absolute back and forth affair. You see you have one comp that's very team fight. I would say the scaling was on favor of Mental Rush. The other side there, you have quite a good skirmish comp coming out from G2 with the Viari. They really want to be playing through mid and then playing to sides. They started to kind of do that. They punished. Josh, you brought this up. Karina's early invade. They punished that. They also make a punish onto her again into the jungle. But then there was a bit of a turnaround, right? And I think that at some point I felt like my prediction was going to be in the bin because it really did look like it was going to be a Mental Rush win.
Yeah, definitely. There was also just like one tower dive that happened really early into the game where it was like, is this the G2 that we love? Is this the G2 that we have been knowing? And we also had like a little replay of that showed really nicely how in the early game G2 kind of struggled to get into their position with like a kind of failed tower dive. But like, what was your like expectation from this game, Josh? Because we were really hyped in the early game until I think the first 2 seconds. Oh, never mind. Rob, take us over.
I was going to quickly say, just to follow my point here, is if we just roll the clip, what we want to see when you see G2 Hell's draft is play through mid, use Viari combination onto sides if you can, and trying to play either into the jungle or onto either lane. They tried this here, but it was a great encore from Seraphine, as the clip is. We need it to be rolling. There you go.
God, there
we get to see. There was a great encore from Seraphine that did happen here, and then Miela comes to clean it up. And this is one where when you can start punishing that side lane play that they're trying to do with the sort of skirmish comp, and you can get some kills on the board for yourself as a comp that generally will want to team fight better and invite the enemy team in the 5v5. That's where you expect the game to kind of roll over, sort of run away with it. Mental Rush, and they kind of did for the longest time, and then there was a little bit of an oopsie a little bit later.
There was a little oopsie, and especially you have like this 4-0 Miela, you're like, oh my god, my AD carry can carry the game. But what happened then, Josh? Tell us.
It's generally something I've seen following Mental Rush. We hit the pause button here. And generally when you play Drakes and want to have control over those, you look at the lanes right now, specifically mid, or actually all lanes. You want to have kind of like your top lane pushed in, because then as Mental Rush, if you want to just force the Drake, you can have the pressure on because your wave is pushing into the enemy, and they might hit the turret soon and you might lose them out. So that's the first check mark already left unchecked. The wave is actually pushing in favor for G2 Hell. And then we look at mid lane. Those waves, they're gonna crash soon. And then bot lane, G2L also has the waves in favor. So already a lot of these checks Mental Rush failed. Normally you want to play waves through side and mid lane. You want to also take care of this top lane wave right before Drake as well, so that you can group up with a pushed wave. And then you want to put down vision. So if we also now look here, where's the vision of Mental Rush? They don't really have deep vision in the jungle, so they have a hard time to even find G2L. There's one ward even like to cover a bit of the flank that Sheena then finds. But that's kind of it. So now if we roll the clip, because now Mental Rush is all grouped up on the Drake already, G2, there are so many ways to collapse on them, and now they see Sheena, but it's a bit late because now they're already in a position they have to commit because they're getting flanked from all sides. Fight breaks out, and because they kind of want to stay together, G2 Hell has an easy time to just collapse from all sides. But it is also because Mental Rush made it very, very easy from them. But yet, I still want to praise G2 Hell here, because that was beautiful from them. This team is still young, they got built very recently, and they played this out so well.
Yeah, they did. Like when this Bard ultimate was sitting, was just like chef's kills. It also always hit Miela, and also in the next fight that was happening, it was also again the AD carry that got perfectly catched by Lumi, and then concluded into a very fast victory for G2 after the game hasn't looked that great. But the good thing is we now have concluded one game already with G2 being our victorious team, but there's plenty more of games to come because we are playing the Swiss stage format, so there's gonna be another game on our hands, and I think some of you are going to be very excited because our next game is going to be SK Avarosa that are going to battle Blue Otters. And I think we also have like very strong opinions on that. Maybe also, Rob, what are like your expectations coming now into like this game and like how the day is going to conclude?
So into this game, SK Avarosa, Blue Otter. it should be SK Avarosa favored on paper, right? You know, as we make it out to be, it should be SK Avarosa favored for what the names that we're seeing on the rosters across. We obviously have Reina as a newcomer to the scene, whereas you've got players in every role on SK Avarosa that we know what they can do, and we know what they built this roster to do.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's always possible to be upset, right? It's always possible for an upset.
We love upsets. Upsets are great, and I think that G2 won the last game was also kind of an upset, but I think we should take a look again at our beautiful roster for SK Avarosa because they made lots of changes. I think the only player that we kept is actually Apollonia, and I think Josh has some opinions on the other members of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I generally, actually just give some insight. When the year ended last year, I was thinking about if I continue as an assistant coach or manager, and I was already thinking about like a team I wanted to build. Maybe if I would stay in Vitality, which then in the end happened. So what we did was actually me, Yuxia, Shah, and then Riz. We set up some scrims. We even scrimmed SK Avarosa before this series against Novas with some friends, but friends that are on a similar level to what I was looking at on players and what could be options for SK what now in SK Avarosa was Apollonia and stuff. Shah, obviously, because Apollonia got locked in SK Avarosa, and she wanted Yuxia and Nenris in, because in the end, Vitality, they did a complete rebuild, they wanted new players, which is okay, it's their decision. But Yuxia and Nenris were just like, okay, well, then it's that, we still want to stay together. It's also something we talked about in the video. They know Apollonia, they know she's a great mid laner, so they were reuniting with her and then kind of built this roster, the idea we had with G and now C on support as well.
Yeah, I think it's really nice that we brought like Apollonia back, because I think Apollonia has been like the face of SK Avarosa for like the time being, ever since like Empress departed. So I'm really happy to see her bringing back some aggressive mid laners, hopefully again. And it's also nice to see Wolfie back. On the other hand, we have a team that is also like kind of built on friendship with like a lot of names that we have seen before, with Blue Otters coming in. What are like your opinions on that team, Rob? Since we have seen them previous times.
I was going to say, three of these players are incredibly storied, right? You've got Melancholia in top play, and Tifa and Strauss Panda have been around for an incredibly long time in terms of, I'd say, the female scene. We know what they can do. The biggest question for me is still going to come in is Reina in terms of sort of a newer talent, right? Someone that we haven't necessarily seen on such a big team. They have a chance for a few upsets, right? Going into this, again, it is the first tournament for Game Changers of the year. There's always a chance for players that have that experience in the comp setting, who are used to that pressure, to come in and actually make an impact here. And I think this is a game where they should be looking to target, because maybe, as you said, SK Avarosa maybe not hit the notes in the past. Is this one where certain teams like Blue Otters can actually target that and be like, well, you guys have actually got to show up. The pressure's all on you. It's not really on us, because we've been sort of sidelined in some of the bigger orgs, right? Tifa was on G2. Stratus Panda was on some of these bigger orgs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also funny that we see Tifa again, but without Karina, because like in the past they have always been like sticking together, and they always have been like in the same team, and now we see like a whole new roster like built around on Tifa, and like some names that we have seen also like from the organizations last year for EEC. So I'm really looking forward to see how this team is gonna work out, how are they gonna fit together, because we haven't seen them in this constellation. Of course, Tifa and Stratus Panda, they are both like very like legends in the scene. They are both have been there for a long time, but they also brought in like a complete newcomer with like Rina coming in just recently, being inspired to start coming into the league, and I hope that she's gonna bring like some of her pocket picks. And she already teased us that there might gonna be some spicy picks coming out in the bot lane.
Bit of spice.
Just spice. I mean, just
a little bit of something.
A little bit of something icy, something cool, I mean, something chilly.
Yeah, we've seen it already actually in the
game. Oh, we did.
Yeah, if you follow the games outside of just the scene, already, and no, actually, even in the EC Open Qualifier, Anivia support, that's the one, because actually the backstory is like she played a lot of Anivia before on mid lane on Europe Northeast, got really high rank with it, and she kind of is just trying to fit it into the support role. That's kind of hilarious, but there are angles where it can be really good to, for example, block off a Sion ult. Like Sion normally wants to just run in, and suddenly you get an Anivia wall. You can't do that anymore, so it is kind of hilarious in the right moments to pick up the Anivia.
Yeah, I think too. I think like in general, there's lots of players on like Blue Otters that are like kind of bringing pocket picks. Since we have like Ari for Tifa, you have like the Udyr coming in for Lily. So there's like so many specific picks. On the case of like SK, would you just ban them, Rob, or would you just like see and let Blue Otters do like their crazy things?
Well, I think if you are willing to prep for them, you can leave things like those open. I do think it is a little bit of a sign of disrespect. Let's take like Tifa's Ari. I've seen it many times. It's one that I think you have to put some amount of respect on, even in the current meta. We just obviously saw Golters play an Ari game as well on stream. Anivia's support, it's more the strength of it within the draft. If Tifa's willing to play it, and maybe Melanco is happy to play it in top lane, it becomes a ridiculously strong draft tool for them, and you might have to take that off the board. These are best of ones. This is where you are able to bring out some funky picks, especially because they want to be going towards the playoffs for this group, right? This is Swiss stage, and getting a game on the board is so important, especially with so many closely competing teams. There's 8 you listed on your Twitter, or on X, I should say. Sorry, that's an old name. On your X, Josh, you had 8 teams, and like you really can't be there's a couple that may be sneaking around the bottom there as well that are looking to get in there. You've got to bring out every game that you can.
You definitely have. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I wanted to name a fun fact, but you can finish and I can bring you my fun fact.
Give me the fun facts. Give me the fun facts. Give them.
Yes. Okay. I posted on Twitter when it got announced. But you know that Tifa and Panda, Stratos Panda, they teamed up together in 2015 for the first time. And they played 4 years together to June 2019. Under different orgs as well. But they were united for 4 years. And now after 7 years, they're back together.
Aww.
Like they haven't been back together since, and it's actually pretty cool because this is also just showing they bring in the experience, and it's really key because they also have a lot of players that still are kind of newcomers, even if some names are more heard of, and it's kind of like they can bring them together. They can bring this coolness into the match to make sure that they can perform and that they can manage to, especially when like upsets could happen. Most of the teams, they fumble them at the end and they do like a big misplay, but that they can bring them this calmness with the experience and make sure that it doesn't happen if they get into a position where they actually are like winning a game, for example, against SK.
Yeah, definitely. And I love like that there's like a lot of like veterans coming in, but like getting mished with like all these like youngsters coming in. And I think we now actually have the time to quickly listen into what there was to be said about the clip about Rina, about the picks that might be coming, because I think we have the time for that, and how she thinks of the Anivia.
And I'm not gonna give anything away, but I will say yes, definitely. I will pick Anivia whenever I can because I just love the champion. That's all there is to it. She's my girl, and teams have to watch out for it.
Yeah, so what we basically heard is that she's gonna bring out the Anivia if it's not banned. So I just hope that SK is not gonna ban it, because the way that I know my SK, I mean, SK has changed names so much around in the last few years, but in the end, SK kinda has like this hyper carry. We draft our Jinxes, we draft like just something that can scale on bot lane. And I think it might be really making a difference to have something cheesy coming up on the other side for the Otters. I mean, you already had the chance to like see some more input from SK already, Josh. So did this identity change, or is it just same old SK as always, just scaling and team fighting?
I mean, it is kind of the old SK back, like because
The
we
bang
already
bang.
talked like. Yeah, Mental Rush obviously won ESC with the core in NNO, and now we have SK with their core that won ESC, the very first ESC with G-Wolf-EG,
In
Apollonia,
2022.
Exactly. But I think they will be, like, I think they actually have a lot of variance in their team. Everyone can play everything, so I think it's kind of hard to get a read on them.
Yeah, so I would say we're just gonna go to the draft, and let's see what's gonna getting picked from these teams. And oh my god, can we like in the chat please leave a little heart for our producer to putting up this beautiful draft for us? And Rob is already excited. What did you see? What did you?
No, I'm excited to have this time. We're not being jumped into the
Yeah.
triple Aurora jump scare. I'm just excited to see what's picked. The Rumble ban. I mean, I'm expecting still at this level to be seeing a lot of the standard sort of bans. Like we've seen Ash Seraphine still stay in the meta. Obviously, there was the change on the patch, right? But we did just see Seraphine be picked. I'm looking for Ezreal still being very strong, Bard still being very strong. You know, there's still the Anivia, right? We've still got to highlight that. If this is not banned, are we expecting it as like a 1-2 pick from Blue Otters? That's what I'm looking at here.
I mean, it could fit well into RC's pool because RC, I mean, the patch actually benefiting her. She's an engaged player. She's known for picking Nautilus whenever it's open. But that is the Anivia that's like good for. If you can react in time and put up a wall into a dredge line, you're kind of cooking that Nautilus, and then it's just there. And
Then he's just like existing,
and
like
you're
help. What do I do
You're
now?
just like, I got you. Never mind.
What is my purpose in life? Why do I exist? Yeah, I also love that they banned Udyr. I mean, I'm very sad that we won't be able to see it because it has been like also manners in like last year's EEC. That whenever we had like early playing, that there was always the Udyr around the corner. And yeah, we unfortunately won't be seeing that. But there's no Anivia ban, there is no Ari ban. I think Blue Otter is gonna eating good today.
Oh, they banned it themselves. They
Oh,
banned Ari
never
themselves.
mind. Okay.
It could be a B1. Maybe they were scared that they'd B1 it on SK because Apollonia is also known for it. But then
Yeah.
again, Apollonia also has a good counter. Rumble is Jarvan, by the way, producers told us. So makes sense
Orianna.
though. Oh, actually, Orianna. I mean, there's like Nocturne, you know? Like there's so many combos you can. Nafiri. Yushia is known for her Nafiri. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of combos you can go for.
I also always remember like Yushia also playing like Nocturne. So it was like always like a very reliable combo. It's easy to snowball, easy to punish,
Yeah.
especially if you have like a very immobile carry like away. Yeah, of course you can throw the fear, but it's very hard to get away if you're once getting engaged.
Okay, Pantheon pick as well. I mean, this is you basically going through the AD Bruiser pool, right? What are you going to go for? Are you going to take the Wukong, or are you going to take the Pantheon, or are you going to take the Zinzao? Like, what are these you're going to take eventually? It's just that meta hasn't changed. It simply will be what's on support. I still think Ash Seraphine has some strength on the patch, so it's not surprising to see Seraphine come through. I would like to see them take an Ash here if they're going to hit this. Seraphine is my preferred part of the pairing, but I think you might as well round out your bot duo here rather than sitting there. But no, they're going to go for a Wukong. They're worried about a pinch in the jungle pool. My question still here is: we said about this Anivia. Have they just has Red just lied to us in that VT and just said actually that was like a double bait? It was like we're not going to take it at all. Don't be you should be prepped for it. And then they ruined it because the Nautilus will be coming through here, so there isn't going to be an Anivia support.
Okay, but you know what? This is going to be interesting. Now we're seeing the Seraphine. We normally think this is support. Nenris plays Seraphine. They didn't pick the Ashe yet. This is a flex. So they've been picking Nautilus because they're like Nautilus Pantheon. Okay, this is an easy gank into it, you know, that we can set up. But they're still banning supports just in case because they know Seraphine has a lot of Nenris has a lot of Seraphine games. You find it a lot on her BGG. The only interesting part, because like we have Wei, who's like high range and hard to get onto, right? Nocturne would make this really easy. Wukong has a harder time to actually get onto a way. I'm really and I also really like Nocturne into Pantheon, by the way, just as an answer to throw out the ult whenever Pantheon ults in to create chaos.
But I think
we didn't see it.
It is just like Jushia being like super comfortable on the Wukong. I think it has been like also one of her most played champions historically. So it's of course for this type of tournament setting very important to win as many games as possible.
Yeah.
So I think they're just going also with the idea, okay, Wukong can go in with the clone, transferring not just the shockwave, but also wonderfully transferring the final and core of the Seraphine into the team fights, elongating the range of that ultimate, making sure that the backline is getting hit. Oh my god, we get a Stratos Panda Kalista. Oh my god, I love it so much. I mean, I have been like waiting for somebody to play like this aesthetic shift build, but yes.
Yeah, but it also kind of means to go a lot of like I think what SK wants to do is just go Alistair go like full disengage comp. They know Blue Otter wants to go in, and SK is comfortable in backseating and just playing around that. Now you just need a strong pick for Wolfie.
I'm not a big fan of it's like the Stratos Panda Kalista. I'm not a big fan of that champion in general. Haven't been for quite a while. I think it's quite a poor pairing in most cases. The Gnar gets locked in as well, in for the top lane for G Wolfie G. What do they want to take here on 5 in terms of top lane counter? There's like there's stuff that people have played in terms of oh my god, it's going to be Melancholy Yorick. I do know this is a favorite of Melancholy. I always try to make it work in jungle when she was playing in that role before. And now bring it out in the top lane with the role swap.
But I love that, like, SK's like, oh, we play together, we're gonna do so nice team fights. Meanwhile, Blue Otter is like, everybody on their own. Just don't ping when there's something going wrong. You have Kalista playing for herself, you have, like, a Wei that's just surviving, top lane doing their own thing. So how do you think about this, Josh? This is, like, very different approaches to the game.
Yeah, it is, but it's also weird because like Blue Otter looked first, like they're just gonna throw an engage, but I like the R5 pivot into Yorick because like you throw engage on them, so normally you pick a lot of disengage and you don't have a lot of engage options. Like SK still has way to engage, but Blue Otter really needs to be too close to them to make that happen. But the thing is, SK might get into panic mode when that Yorick is split pushing and having good matchups into like Gnar and Orianna. You know, if this Yorick is quite strong in the game, so you're gonna have a rough time dealing with that Yorick. And it's gonna be kind of the problem, I think. As long as Blue Otter makes that Yorick work, I think SK is gonna struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a very hard early game to surpass. But I think if the game was long enough, they would just outscale, right, Rob? I mean, at one point, does the Seraphine carry it?
Yeah. Okay. So when you have, sort of double mages across your two carry roles, mid and bot, it can mean you feel like you're lacking a little bit of consistent damage in team fights. I do generally prefer SK's draft overall, but it is a case. I agree with Josh. It's one of those things. If you can't deal with the Yorick, the game becomes horrible because the Yorick is on those sides.
Yeah.
You're having to answer that first. They're already first on the objective, and you're always playing catch up in terms of sort of map state. But if you are not in that situation as Blue, let's say there's a punish that comes through on this Yorick early on, then if you're trying to if you ever force Yorick into a team fight, it is a disaster really for Blue Otters, because if you're just standing in a river, standing there 5v5 set of finger guns pointing at each other, who are you preferring? Are you preferring the Wukong Orianna combo with an Encore over the top? Are you preferring like the Yorick Callista? I know which one I'm much preferring in those 5v5 standoffs, to be honest with you.
I mean, I got a great tip for Blue Otters. Like, just don't fall behind and then just don't lose. Like, that's basically how they want to play their game. Just don't fall behind. The lanes have to work. These champions have to individually gain a lead for themselves. Otherwise, it's going to be very uncomfortable in the team fights. Let's put it that way. It's going to be very uncomfortable for them. So, I want some opinions from you. So, Josh, who are you going with in this game?
I mean, I think SK is just the better team, so I think they will win very easily.
That was short, Rob.
I'm gonna agree. I also think unless they can make this Yorick work with actual side lane pressure with the Pantheon as well in that global, it's going to be a hard game to play in 5v5s if the game is even around them and they can force those. So SK for me on draft and also on sort of name value as well.
I mean, you're saying that, but I think our chat is actually like very Blue Otter favored. I see like way more people being.
Sorry, I actually
no.
I'm not sure, by the way. I'm not sure because like it's confusing because the name Blue, like Blue Otter. So, but Blue Otter is on red side. So I'm not sure if they say the blue side or the blue team.
Yeah. Now there's also lots of Go Tifas, so I think the Tifa fandom is just cheering for the Otter. See, there now all the sleeper resident Blue Otter fans, they just woke up and are typing in the chat to cheer for their teams, and I love to see that. I mean, I love that we have like Blue Otters ready to shake it up, bring like maybe one of the big five to their knees, getting some points in, and I also had like a very confident game win for them in the first game of the day. So. Yeah, now that we kind of cleared the fronts, we have like a very SK-sided board, a very Blue Otter-sided chat. So what do you think happens in like the first few minutes? What does Blue Otter maybe have to do to actually gain the lead that they need to win this game, Josh? Just leave SK out. You're now Mike, the Blue Otter fanboy. That's your destiny now.
Okay.
Just get Yorick ahead now.
Yorick and Pantheon.
Okay.
Side laning.
So everything that we're gonna see Lily doing is just ganking. Just getting ganked, just taking the Pantheon, ganking top lane again, go base, go gank top lane again.
Yes. Over and over. Get put Gnar behind, win on sides.
And then we play all the Star Wars Cantina band song and are happy that the Yorick came into game. How do you think bot lane will play out? Because, yeah, you play into Seraphine Alistar. It's going to be very hard for the Callista to play around that. But would it be, like, actually beneficial to maybe gank into bot lane too, Josh?
Sorry, I think, do you have producer muted? Because we actually have casters ready.
Oh, we do! No,
I have the browser tab muted.
No, I don't.
Could it be?
I don't think
Weird.
so.
Okay, that is a technical issue, but they're waiting for us. I think the game is going live any second now.
We're tossing overs. I don't want your opinions anymore. We go over to our Blue Otter fanboys in the casting desk. Have fun with the game.
Oh. Thank you very much, Richalis. I always think that telling Josh and Rob that you don't want to hear their opinions is a very healthy thing. We are about to head into Game 2 Bandit. We have not got long. I want to hear your thoughts coming out of the draft. Is there a team that you're in favour of? What do you want to see go down?
Oh, I thought you'd never ever say that to me. You're looking forward to hear what I have to say, but here we are, and no backseas. All right, so in my eyes, this game will be all about Blue Otter's jungler. It will be Pantheon, right? If they manage to enable their bottom lane, they can get their Kalista hat. They can make sure that they can get that lead through the bot lane and smash it and wipe it all across the map. They're set up for success. However, if a single shockwave enables the wombo combo to waltz right over them, it doesn't matter how well your early game went, because that is a clean ace any time of the day.
Yeah, I suppose it's a similar situation to what we found ourselves in the last game, but with a different context around it. You only need the Vial to connect onto the Zeri once, so you win the game. You only need to shockwave like 3 or 4 people, and then you're going to win the game. It's a tall task, but I will say it's really exciting to see sort of like 2 different styles of composition come out. It feels like for SK Avarosa, it is all about the team fight. You keep the lanes nice and chill early on, but for Blue Otter, there's angles for a bit more chaos, a little bit more throwing anything at the wall, seeing what sticks.
There is so much pressure resting on the shoulders of Apollonia right now. Those shockwaves need to hit. If you are mistiming, if you are not confident in the buffering of your ultimate when your Wukong is about to cyclone or step out of range, that is a lost team. Because where is the damage otherwise? Where is the CC chain? Everything needs to align. The stars itself need to align, and then there's no escaping. But that is a lot. It's a lot of grunt work to have to wrestle your way through.
You don't want to be doing grunt work. You want the game to be nice and easy, not particularly too complicated.
That's what grunts are for.
Well, yeah, but like if you are one of the grunts, I feel like all of a sudden life becomes a lot less enjoyable.
Yeah, please tell me more about that. I personally don't have that experience.
You've never been a grunt. You've never been a henchman for an evil supervillain that wants to take over the world. It's not a fun life, I must tell you.
No, I'll take your word for it. Now, despite some of my more mumbly and grumpy grunts, I am actually not that all experienced with the grunt work. That is my privilege at work, and so thankful.
Excellent stuff there. Should we talk about the game a little bit?
Here's the thing. I think one of the lanes that we have not really been talking about, not only because we've only been yapping for 2 minutes, but also because in the grand scheme of things, I am just kind of curious where it will land. It is the top lane.
Yeah.
And I am looking at, all right, Gnar should be able to fight their way through that without too many issues. But that mid-game starts to worry me. Because you want the Gnar with the team to set up the wombo. But Yorick in the side lane, if that is not addressed, they can just split to win it.
Yeah, and I think that puts you in a bit of a difficult place if you're Melanchola on SK Avarosa, who is playing this Gnar, because I really don't feel like there is a point in the game where the Gnar just auto loses to the Yorick. A lot of it is going to be depend on like the placement of the Dark Procession cage coming out from G-Wolfie and whether the Yorick is actually able to get access onto the Gnar. But you are absolutely right. That Gnar, you want to get a lead in side lane, transition that into the rest of your team. For the Yorick, if you just stay in the side lane, you just keep taking towers, and we haven't really seen too much emphasis on split push as a style, but I think with the composition that Blue Otter have put together for themselves, I think it is something that they could look towards.
And the reason why it's so problematic for SK Avarosa is who is going to address a Yorick in the side lane? You're going to have to commit at the very least, 2 players.
Yeah.
And even from that side, I have seen so many Yoricks be ganked by a jungler and walk away with a double kill. If they are not putting binds on that from the very, very start, this can get out of hand.
Yeah, and I think the issue there becomes it's like, all right, if you want to deal with the Yorick, like that's fine, but you also need to address the Kalista Nautilus, who, like, whilst, yes, there is a lot of CC coming out from SK Avarosa's bot lane that is going to be able to deal with them quite effectively, the damage profile is heavily favoring what Blue Otter are going to be throwing down. And it wouldn't surprise me if we do actually see Stratus Panda and Renner fall to a slight deficit potentially in the lane, because if Neris and Alcy just want to pull the trigger, they have got an opportunity to do that pretty much every single point in this lane. There's not really a time where you need to wait around.
So, and that is kind of always my fear with a wombo comp. What is your floor for what is an acceptable return on the wombo, right? Is it 2 people? Is it 3? Where is that split of, I think personally, you'd be looking for, you gotta at least wipe 2 off instantly, at least catch 3 for it to be effective enough to paralyze what Blue Otters are trying to do. Where do you land on that spectrum?
Well, I think it's definitely a weird one, because you can look at Blue Otter and they've got 2 very traditional damage carries in terms of the Callista and the Hui, but Pantheon and Yorick are the sort of champs that can almost operate like a Renekton, like we saw in the previous game, where at the back end of a fight, when people have burnt their cooldowns, when everyone's a little bit lower HP, those bruisers can really sort of take over and wipe people out. They're not threats that you want to be prioritizing unto themselves. They still need the extra damage from the rest of their team, but you can't just ignore them completely. This isn't like a Mundo or an Ornn where you just let them do their thing and kill everyone around them. You need to address them, because otherwise the Seraphine, the Orianna, these are the sort of champions that can be victims of these bruisers with those damage profiles.
You can just prevent them from being impactful in the game. And honestly, I'm just very curious to see how Blue Otters will even allow team fights to happen. I think they are more than content to just always have someone in the side lane, have that be the Yorick. But even when you look at the Pantheon in the side lane, it's not as great at pushing itself, but the fact that there will always be someone there to kind of like jingle some keys, like, remember me? You got to pay attention to me. Hey, in the side lanes, not 5v5s. Hey, not the wombo combo. We'll not be allowing that.
That was a little bit like New York from you there. Like, hey, look at me. I got the keys. I don't know. But yeah, whilst that Pantheon's not going to be a side lane threat onto themselves, can really easily respond. And I don't know whether it's because it's the first game of League of Legends that I've cast in a couple of weeks, but I keep coming back to that previous game with G2 Hell as, whoa! Turns out that my mic wasn't working for the first 5 minutes of the previous game, and we are jumping straight in 5 minutes again. So we've got an early kill coming out here for Yashir on that Pantheon. Does look like it was towards the bot lane with Renner being taken down.
And that is exactly how you want to play the game. And now that the first dragon of the game is already spawning, you can just explode that lead. Never give SK a moment's rest in this game. If you manage to maintain that murdering tempo, you can keep them behind, keep them in a reactionary state where they're not able to set up that wombo from the very start.
Yeah, you want to be not necessarily completely going guns blazing when you've got a teamfight composition like SK Avarosa, but you need to have some level of control, because for the composition to work, you need to be able to get everybody in the same place at the same point with reasonable enough health bars to execute on that wombo. And Blue Otter, if they pull the trigger so quickly that you can't even do that, then your ability to set up for those teamfights becomes heavily hindered.
It all starts in laning, Middlecon, and we do have to keep our eyes on the most important part of laning at any single moment. That's right, the junglers.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at a lane to set up for success, and we have mentioned bottom lane multiple times already, is there an argument to be made, right? Can we start setting up vertical jungle? Can we split the map in twain?
I mean, that is a question. You'd have to think that if you're going to be focusing on a particular side of the map, if you're one of these teams, it's going to be Blue Otter looking towards that bottom lane. Thankfully, we didn't see any summoner spells burn on the side of SK Avarosa in that place. They've still got a little bit of safety. And then, obviously, once we start getting post 6 on the Seraphine, once we start getting post 6 on the Alistair, there is a bit more safety there, but certainly not too much that you can be arrogant and a little bit careless with the way that you play. We are seeing an attempt towards the mid lane here from the Nautilus, but that feels like it's more to clear out the wave than anything and ensure that Tifa can move around, play some wards, maybe get a base in.
Rina just making her presence known, keeping the enemies on their toes. Remember me? I could be there for the next minute as well. Don't you get any ideas? Now, I do want to see Blue Otters kind of take charge, not only in their laning phase, but also in putting Yusha under pressure, making sure that Wukong is not able to hit that Trinity spike before 11 minutes. If they can make sure that Wukong has just 0 to no impact, not of a real damage threat, this comp from SK can really start to unravel when it's already so light on actual damage dealers.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that is going to come through as we get later. The lost chapter in Neris's inventory, implying that we are going to be seeing a bit more damage coming out from this Seraphine. We see the combo being dropped, as do the FPS values on the stream, but I don't think it's going to matter. The Nautilus taking incredibly low with the multi-person knock-up from the Wukong. Chaos going down in the bottom lane, and I can't see a damn thing that is going on. Low health bars on both sides, but escapes being pulled through. Not enough. Close run thing, but Blue Otter come out with the fight victory.
And here we see the responsiveness of a Pantheon. And when Clueless is managing able to turn these fights around, making sure with the Kalista here, making sure that their their support managed to hang in there just that tad bit longer. SK are trying to take charge, but it comes at a hefty, hefty price.
Yeah, and you've got to be careful. We're already talking about how with a team fight composition, you don't necessarily mind if you fall down a little bit early, and the deficit is definitely not catastrophic as of yet, but it's not a great sign that this early into the game, SK Avarosa are already starting to fall a little bit behind.
And it's focused. Once again, it's all happening on Clueless, who can spread around the wealth like a Greek Robin Hood.
Greek Robin Hood.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued
what does that look like?
as well, yeah, take from the rich, give to the poor. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And then Pantheon.
I mean, honestly, if any place could use a Robin Hood, right?
Okay.
It is Summoner's Rift.
I think, yeah, Summoner's Rift is often in need of a little bit of wealth distribution.
What were you thinking, Milka?
Well, I don't know. I thought you were... I don't know what I was thinking, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. It's currently saying that it's 39 degrees in my house. So I think I'm burning up a little bit, potentially.
Hottie alert.
Yeah,
Stop
just
it right
now.
Just fighting off a fever. Now, I do want to highlight the fact that Dragon is spawning in just 30 seconds.
Yep.
And we have resets coming through in the mid lane. We have a Sundered Sky already finished in the hands of Clueless. I feel you are geared up once again before 12 minutes, being able to snatch up that second Dragon, not give SK Avarosa a moment's respite.
Yeah, and this is part of the reason why it feels so nice to get a little bit of early gold on your jungler, because that gold is going to impact everywhere on the map, right? It's not like Clueless is only going to be able to pressure in mid or bot with this. Like, she can go kind of wherever she wants.
Apollonia's moving.
Oh, we're getting a little bit of an attempted catch here onto Neris, but more members of SK Avarosa are making their way over, not quite connecting. There we go, though! Shockwave onto 2, a little bit of a taster for what the rest of this game would hopefully look like for SK Avarosa. 2 kills just like that.
And the big playmaker here is Apollonia. Not because she landed the wombo combo, well, also because of that, but mostly because she got to move first from the mid lane. The fact that Tifa didn't manage to be impactful at all in that rotation opens the door for SK Avarosa to equal the score Baron and kill-wise.
Yeah, and I think
Dragon, not Baron.
Really importantly, the play was towards that bot lane, recognizing the dangerous potential that the Kalista and the Nautilus have going. We're not going to mess around. We'll send 4 people, we'll properly overload, and make sure that we can secure those kills 100% for ourselves. And it means, quite similarly to our previous game, that around the sort of 13-minute mark, there isn't really much to separate these two teams.
Yeah, and, you know, as happens around the 13-minute mark, this could be a herald of the future and what we can expect. Get it? Get a herald?
Yeah,
'Cause
no,
it's-
yeah.
yeah, it's good. It's good, right?
I'm dealing with it. I'm dealing with it. Bandit.
No, but this is what you want to see throughout the entirety of the game. Jokes aside, right? This is on a smaller scale, catching in this case some of the most impactful people in that bottom lane, managing to blursh them down before they even get to land anything impactful. If they manage to replicate that at objective fights, at those big 5v5s, they will be victors, no doubt.
No doubt at all. Big pick up here for Neris in the bottom lane. Has secured herself that Blackfire torch, so it's going to be a bit easier to clear out these waves on the Seraphine, and of course Kalista isn't really going to be able to match that as well. First item as well picked up for Apollonia, obviously the beneficiary of that double kill towards the bottom side. A little bit down in terms of XP, but this Orianna is in a very nice place to set up for the rest of the game.
Yeah, like most problems in my life, we should just throw gold at it until I'm happy. I'm an amazing problem solver.
No, that's good. And I mean, I think you do need to throw the gold at it, because the 2 kills on Blue Otter are on Cluelith with that Sundered Sky, who has the ability to get into the mid lane. Orianna still has the flash, but not the most mobile of champions, and being down a shockwave might open up a bit more of an opportunity.
Yeah, Tifa thanking her lucky stars that she's not wearing too baggy a pants today, as a hair extra would have meant her demise.
Yeah, well, yes, maybe thanking the tier 2 boots that she's picked up, potentially more than whatever else is going. But we're fine.
Yeah. Well, I am more a person that likes the apple bottom jeans. You're into the boots with the fur.
Oh my lord!
We all have our thing going on for us. And that's totally fine. I respect that about you.
Who would the whole club be looking at though, in the context of this game right now, Bandit?
I mean, you have to give it to Apollonia here, right? As the driving force on SK Avarosa. And if she can, even without a milkshakes, get all the boys to the yard, then we can set up the bounce house. Yeah, start a real party.
Right. This needs to come down immediately, Bandit. I can't keep up. Okay, I'm in a
even the gameplay is like,
yeah,
I refuse.
Like, hang it in the Louvre, just a sort of perfect picture of this game.
But genuinely, even though these teams are going blow for blow, they are at the bottom line. We're well on our way throughout the early game now. 2 dragons. 1 apiece. 4 kills. 2 apiece. It is all balanced out right now. But is that really balanced? Or is that the writing on the wall for Blue Otters, who should be ahead according to our earlier analysis?
Well, this is the thing, and this is where we've got to sort of earn our wage, as it were, because we're looking at Blue Otter as a team that potentially did need to get a little bit more going early on. We haven't really discussed it all that much, but operating against the SK Avarosa composition as a Kalista once you get later is going to be really difficult. The zones of control that are created by the big AoE ults from the Seraphine and from the Orianna, that's all well and good, but then you've also got the CC being provided by the rest of the team. So if you overstep even just the slightest amount of your Stratos Panda, then things could go fairly badly for you. Fortunately, Stratos Panda is quite good at AD carry, so they might be able to mitigate that, but still, it's got to be a concern.
Do you know what has been surprising me throughout all of this? And that it's the role of Nenris in this composition on the Seraphine. I really always kind of felt like the Encore would be the follow-up to a Cyclone engage, but the extra range you get from it, especially when it goes through your teammates, means that the space between the teams is so treacherous. When you think you are safe and there's not an enemy minion wave behind, the Kalista is not all that mobile, and you can just throw down the Encore. If you flash, we have your flash. If you don't flash, you know what is going to happen next. And the threat range that SK Avarosa is wielding is just kind of daunting me, and it's a lot more deadly than I initially gave it credit for.
Well, some things have occurred whilst League of Legends has not been on our screen, and I think, Bandit, you'll agree with me that it's pretty viewing for SK Avarosa fans. We've got a couple of more kills that Apollonia has been involved in, and seeing where they're all distributed, it looked like it was another big play towards the bottom side. SK Avarosa really understanding that this Kalista, if she doesn't get ahead, she is going to be not particularly useful throughout the rest of the game.
Middle caught. I couldn't agree more. Look at Apollonia's inventory.
I love it.
We are looking at a 21-minute-ish Rabadon's death cap.
They're needlessly large, those rods, as Melancholia is getting played onto, but they have got a 3-level advantage up against that Wukong, which means that it's quite difficult to dislodge them from this mortal plane, but dislodging them from top lane is a little bit of an easier task, and it looks like that first turret blood gold is all going to be going onto the Orianna. Those shockwaves are going to be hitting even harder.
I will say Cluelith has been setting up camp in the bottom lane like it's nobody's business. And honestly, they can really start laying down the foundation for more and more ganks, moving on from this lodge to that lodge in the bottom lane.
I'll give you that. That was all right.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy. Baron is on the map, though. And I do feel that the composition of SK Avarosa will never, ever be really threatening a Baron sneak away, right? I feel like the DPS is simply not there unless Blue Otters really misstep in a grandiose way.
Yeah, I think that what they're going to be looking at is more controlling that space, controlling those zones around the Baron, because if someone like Tifa, if someone like Stratus Panda does step a little bit too far forward, bam, we can come in with the Wukong, with the Orianna, the Alistar. We can just immediately blow them up. It's interesting for SK Avarosa because they do have this big team fight composition, but because of the power of those tools, you can almost act and play like a pig composition because, hey, it doesn't matter that I'm using my ultimate if I'm getting key members of the enemy team off the board.
And that is so almost nauseating to play into, right? All that threat of rushing a Baron on the side of Blue Otter is like, oh, you're all grouping up in a very small circle for us to wombo combo. Oh no, not the outcome we were hoping for.
Oh dear, it's the consequences of our actions. How has this happened again?
And you do have to keep in mind that a lot of the power and the value from a Baron has been taken away from just securing it. You really need to come out with at least 3 members with that buff to really call it a worthwhile play. And even then, if they manage to keep you away from their towers, because in the time that it took you to reset, they pushed out all their waves, the Baron is not, especially the first one, is not that big a deal as it used to be.
And you're talking about needing to sort of get value from it. If you're on the side of Blue Otter, I feel like there is so much variance in the power level of that objective depending on whether it goes on to Melancholia or not. Because a Yorick in a side lane is something that I do think that Wolfie can actually deal with at the moment. Once you start getting Baron empowered minions into the mix, it does become a bit trickier.
It is still the nasty prospect, and something that I will say Blue Otters haven't really been leaning on too much, right? We haven't seen too much pop off just yet. Now that is indicative of a side lane play, right? Is really death by 1,000 cuts, and only when the bowl has filled with small droplets, it starts to overflow. Up to that time, you're just filling your bowl, and it's all business as usual.
Yeah, we are seeing a little bit of setup here from SK Avarosa. We've got a Chemtech Drake on the Rift. This would be sole point for the blue side team if they're able to pick it up, and Blue Otter don't really look like they're in a position to contest. They are moving towards that Baron, but SK Avarosa, they're looking to match, and we discussed how dangerous it could be if Blue Otter start up this objective without Protoss setup.
And look how little control they have. It's all control warded out of there. They're not even suspecting it. This is happening right under their noses. Now they're finally face-checking the bush.
Yeah, but Yushia is a very long way away, and I think that's smart from Blue Otter. Back off from the Baron with all of those big ultimates still available. You really don't want to be caught out having leashed the objectives for your opponents.
And here is that moment where you start to wonder, what if Stratus Panda did have that extra item? What if they did have 3 kills or 4 kills and they can put out that extra DPS to make this a real threat? In the simulations, this could have worked, but right now, when you are not in that driver's seat, it's kind of like a warning shot.
And I guess the question sort of then becomes, like, what do you do if you are Blue Otter? Because I agree with you, it feels a little bit constricted in terms of their play patterns right now, the treacherous nature of going towards the Baron, but what is there for them for an opportunity to come back into this?
You don't want to team fight your way out of it, which is usually what you want to do when you're behind, right? Flip it in a team fight, see if you can get a even or maybe even a positive trade out of that. You want to side lane your way out of this hole that you dug yourself, and by doing so, you're kind of giving more and more scaling time towards SK Avarosa.
Yeah, it's that horrible sort of situation where the thing that you want to do is also the thing that your opponent wants you to do. The Proto Belt away from Tifa as, again, it just feels like it's SK Avarosa bringing more members to the party. The flash forward nicely dodged away from us. Pretty much everything goes wide there. Cluelith is going to be able to escape. That could have been scary for Blue Otter, and I feel like they've got away with it a little.
Yeah, and meanwhile, in the side lane, in the middle lane, they are starting to cash. Now, don't get overzealous. If they do get collapsed on, it can still turn rather poor. But look what has been invested on the side of SK Avarosa. That is the Cyclone gone. That is the flash on the Wukong gone. No shockwave for at least like 40 seconds or so. And they're going to try again.
I mean, there is potential. It's a long way to the Baron pit here for Apollonia. But once again, Blue Otter deciding better than to commit themselves to the objective. But every time they do that, it's moments that they aren't pushing waves, it's moments that they aren't establishing vision, and it's wasted time at the end of the day.
The sand is slipping through their hands, through the hourglass, and if time is running out for them to be impactful, will it all come down to the next 2 minutes where the possible Hextech Soul will be spawning? We did see an overwhelming amount of vision control around those objectives when it mattered. If they can manage to do that once again, but now on the Dragon, that would be an objective they can actually threaten to burst down a lot more convincingly.
Yeah, you look at the wave clear there coming out from Neris. Blue Otter always have to be second to the wave, because if you get caught with any of those spells, chain into the Rylai slow, and then the follow-up from SK Avarosa can be absolutely brutal. A little bit of a lull state for the next little bit, because I don't think that SK Avarosa were too confident to start up this Dragon. Just like you were saying, you don't just want to go for it immediately. You want to bait people in, you want to use your ultimates, catch some people out, and then you can move on to the objective.
And we saw the chip damage, the chunk damage that Apollonia was able to inflict upon Tifa. That was stuff from nightmares. If anyone missteps, they don't even need the wombo anymore. That is even though they're not that far ahead in the gold department, just in pressure, it feels like playing with your hands tied on the side of Blue Otter, because they don't really want to invest into the side lanes and really enable their Yorick to start putting up a lot of pressure. Gnar is being able to keep matching the pressure put out, and the threat of a Yorick being able to lay your base in ashes, or at least force multiple players to come down, it hasn't come to pass, Middlecom.
No, but if we are talking about pressure, a lot of that is going to be on Apollonia. We can talk as much as we like about how strong SK Avarosa as a team are doing, but once you get into the nitty-gritty of the gold totals, the lead is the Orianna, and very little else beside that. So if she's not careful in terms of her positioning, or even just doesn't get the shockwave that she needs to in these team fights, then Blue Otter might feel there's something more for them there. Throwing out the hook, it's going to go wide. Pantheon dropping the ultimate in. Struggling to find the engagement properly. One person knocked up with the Cyclone. We've got the Encore invested as well. There comes the second cast, and now Blue Otter having to start to go back. Wolfie dishing out damage, and CC on the front line as Stratus Panda finally gets locked down, but are able to dash away, playing a fighting retreat, but it is a losing retreat as SK Avarosa go one by one and knock down Blue Otter in the fight.
And just the first shot that needed to land, that engage from Rina, it didn't connect, but at that point Cluelith is already flying through the sky, landing in the waiting arms of Yushia's Wukong, putting him back where he came from, into the stratosphere they came. And despite the fact that the shockwave whiffed, hit no one, Blue Otters didn't stand a chance throughout that. The Baron that has been started so many times by the Otters will be going down the gullet of SK Avarosa.
And now it starts to get properly scary. That dragon was taken away by Blue Otter, so the soul is not something they're going to have to contest with for a little bit now, but that was a fight that Blue Otter were at least trying to start on their own terms. Thought they found an angle, but evidently it was not the one that they needed. Now it becomes very, very difficult.
Yeah, the desperation to commit to that fight. You want to back up your team fights, but once Pantheon presses go, there is no easy way out for it. And that's exactly what transpired. Now, the side lane being pushed in, but what are you really threatening when the enemy team is knocking on your door?
Yeah, it's just Arena really at the moment. You can provide that reliable engage for Blue Otter, but not in a position for them to pull the trigger onto anyone as SK Avarosa just taking their time. I feel like they recognize that this isn't a game that they need to rush, that the fights are going to fall in their favor. As starting to rush a little bit here as Cluth goes forward, but they're immediately getting the fight turned around on them. We are seeing the hook come out from Rina, and they're dropping the ultimate as well, but Stratos Panda is just dead. Now some additional CC can start to come in with Wolfie moving into the area. Jungler down on the side of SK Avarosa, but the tempo of the fight is just favoring them so easily.
These bites that are too much to chew for Blue Otters turn to ash in their mouth, left with the bitter taste of defeat, as the pick that they started is not as profitable as they would have liked. The response time from SK Avarosa is there. Meanwhile, the damage to get that quick in and out is not there. This Kalista never got truly and well into the groove, and it is starting to show. The first sparks never led to a proper fire.
And I think whilst we've talked about how well Apollonia has been playing, I think we need to give a shout out to Neris too. We said it was going to be a rough lane for them going up against the Kalista, going up against the Nautilus, but they haven't died yet this game. They've had the support that they've needed for the team, but they've also showed up in the team fights to provide the CC, the shields, the damage, everything that the Seraphine can do.
Experienced admirals when they have to navigate the choppy waters of an early game through and against the Nautilus Kalista. The fact that they were also targeted time and time again by Cluelith was not helping with that. Despite it all, they managed to get through that, come out on top, and now they are reaping the benefits. 6,000 gold in their favor, and the last seconds of a Baron buff.
Yes, here comes the engage.
Oh, there it goes.
Onto 2 as well. It is just that easy. Press all your buttons in the right order, and it's 2 free kills. That top lane tower is not going to be long for this world. Again, SK Avarosa not overextending for these picks, for these fights, for these objectives. They're just looking at Blue Otter and going, you can't defend this even though you think you can. Inhib tower now going to be opened up, and it looks like there's going to be a similar amount of defense as to the tier 2.
Yeah, without the Baron, they are still putting down the damage into this base. They get their first strike through, and now they can start leaning on it. Start and force the issue upon Blue Otters. And the most interesting part throughout all of this, even though we kept describing SK Avarosa... Oh, Cyclone.
Yeah, it's a little bit kooky, a little bit crazy from Yashir. Of course, the Wukong very slippery, able to get on out of there. So, first inhibitor fallen in favor of SK Avarosa, and we saw a little bit of a hint of what they want to do there. They're not just going to try and pile drive down that lane. They'll use the pressure that inhib being down is going to generate, try and get the rest of the structures. They are playing by the book. This is by the numbers League of Legends, and if you don't put a foot wrong, it's very difficult to deal with.
The Soul is spawning teleport coming through. Yorick is positioned the sign with teleport available. This might be the last stand they're making as they're trying to fend off the Soul outside of the hands of SK Avarosa. Can they withstand the barrage that is SK?
It's going to be difficult. They're looking for a pick, but it's so difficult to take out that Alistair. Here comes the charm hitting onto
They got Panda!
Go through the Nautilus, but Kalista ult pulled. as Wolfie is a little bit isolated on the side. They're able to hop out of the Dark Procession. And they go again. Blue Otter here
Shockwave is
setting
still
up
there.
to contest as Straps Panda is looking to make a play here onto the Gnar, but it's split again. It doesn't really seem like they've got everything that they want.
Cluelith.
Potential flag here
Cluelith.
coming through from Cluelith.
It's so tense. They're hunting for the flank. It has to come from a flank. They need to catch these damage dealers.
Dragon is being hit as Wolfie is just going to walk straight past the Pantheon, who is going to try and make their attempt into the back line. Immediately going to get knocked up, not able to find the access. It's wonderful! A shockwave onto 3 as it's monkey business in the back line, just like that. SK Avarosa, they pushed their buttons very, very well in that fight, and I don't think they care about the Drake anymore. I think they want that Nexus.
They don't want to play with you anymore. Chemtech Soul, they have something better to do with their time. And despite a valiant flank from the side of Blue Otters, it is simply too little too late. There is no real driving force behind that little jab they're trying to put up. SK Avarosa are simply powering their way through it.
Clean, controlled the whole way through. SK Avarosa claim victory against Blue Otter.
It's a deserved win. I just want to highlight.
Okay.
I think we saw maybe only one time where the Wombo was really the thing that pushed SK Avarosa over the edge.
Yeah.
And that is a compliment. Despite them fielding a heavy combo composition, they only needed to land it once, and it was in the first 10 minutes in the bottom lane. It changed the game from there on out.
Yeah, and again, I feel like we talked about it a fair bit, but it never felt like SK Avarosa were rushing. It felt like they knew that they were in a commanding position in the game, and I think that so often you can see teams get a little bit overexcited and try and push things too far, but I think it's quite telling that the teams that we've had from the sort of bigger, more well-known organizations, G2 Hell and now SK Avarosa, have come in with these game plans that sometimes can be a little bit more difficult to execute, but when it comes to those team fights, it feels like they just know what they want to do a little bit more than their opponents.
And also the reliance on each other, the trust they have in each other. The moment they're like, all right, you are going to engage, we're kiting back now, I will trust that that Encore is going the way that it has to be, that it will catch off the enemy team where it has to be. That is something that's only truly achieved by putting in the hours together, both on the Rift and outside of the Rift. And when it leads to games like this, you know it was all worth it.
I mean, that has got to feel very, very good for SK Avarosa. Unfortunately, we must now go to a break. We must pause the League of Legends for but a moment, but it will return after this. Trust me.